Hey, my friends, it's Andy Falco Jimenez coming to you live from Yorba Linda, California for the Andy Falco Show. This show is for every parent and even students that may watch this in the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District. And it's an important one because this has been a continuous thing that we've been dealing with. Oh, sorry, I got my glasses hanging from my neck there. There's been a continuous thing that we've dealt with for over the last 5-6 years. And that is the lies that are being created by certain organizations, whether it's the APLE, CTA, NEA, certain groups like Yorba Linda Moms, PYLUSD, that just continue to push out just lies about Leander Blades, Todd Frazier, other people that have ran, other parents that have ran for school board that aren't associated with the teachers unions. And this one is huge in the sense that it's affecting children throughout the district, and right now, in particular, Dorado High School. And that is a walkout that has been essentially scheduled, I guess is the best word I can put out there. You've seen this flyer probably on social media: walkout, abolish ICE, peaceful protest. This is at a Yorba Linda Moms, of course. Just a horrible thing. I'm going to try to keep this as nice as possible because the truth is what's important in this whole show. And one of the basis for this walkout is this post that was put up by, again, Yorba Linda Moms, PYLUSD, and supposedly it is a story by a student that was harassed by ICE. I'm going to read it for you in just one second, but that post went out. Of course, it enraged a bunch of people. You have certain teachers within the school district who in the past have put out things like this, which are ways of getting around ICE and avoiding ICE and all this kind of nonsense, which is just, again, it was distributed at Dorado High School by Jenny Bremer, a history teacher, by the way. And again, it's just to stoke fear and to create something, some type of narrative that is beyond what is actually happening, not just locally, but throughout the United States. But again, I want to focus on what's happening here at Dorado and in Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District. And I pointed this out in my interview with Leander Blades just a few days ago, that this is the thing that the superintendent of schools should be most concerned about, is that she has employees, she has a teachers union that works within the school district that have people that are creating narratives and stories and things that aren't actually happening and that have never happened. I mean, when you look at I'm going to share another comment that a student put out on another social media platform. It was Instagram. I'm not sure which platform or which organization, that just laid out this narrative that ICE is coming onto school grounds and snatching kids out of the classrooms. This has not happened anywhere in the United States, but yet they keep pushing it. And you have them now pushing it that it's happening here in Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District. That has never happened. If you call the superintendent, if you ask any of the, if you ask 2 of the school board members, they will assure you and tell you that nothing like that has ever happened at Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District in any of the schools. So I want to go over this narrative that was written by one of those adults. This was not something that is true. And I'll tell you why I know that with certainty and why I think this broadcast is particularly important. And this is the story. And it says, an El Dorado student was wrongfully detained by ICE and held at gunpoint. The student reported, they chased me to my house. And when they got a hold of me, they tossed me onto the floor, pointed a gun at me, and asked if I had papers. After realizing the student was a U.S. citizen, ICE agents claimed that they stopped him because of a bike infraction. They then accused the student of being involved in a gang and called a gang unit to investigate whether they were a gang member. Shortly afterward, the student was taken to the county jail. Meanwhile, despite this incident, Leander Blades continues to push the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District to cooperate with ICE. Now, there's so much wrong with that story. It's just, I mean, as soon as I read it, I think I got into the first line of what this so-called student said, this imposter student or this make-believe student, in that they were chased by ICE because of a bicycle violation. Now, ICE doesn't do that. They don't. They can, but they don't enforce or don't go after suspects because a child is riding a bike in the neighborhood of El Dorado High School. That I knew that was false. The next thing is they probably wouldn't have called the gang unit because they have better things to do. And then what made it all completely untrue is that he went to jail. Adults go to jail. Kids don't go to jail. And based on how this was written, they wanted you to believe that a child within the school district was taken to jail. Only adults are taken to Orange County jail. And so when you put all these things together, already without contacting the people I contacted, this already, in my mind, was a false story. But I wanted to make sure. And I reached out to local police departments. As you know, if you've watched this before, I'm a retired police officer. I also was an instructor at the Orange County Sheriff's Department and the Golden West Academies, and taught many of the men and women who are now probably sergeants, lieutenants, captains, and chiefs of police. And so I have that going for me, that I have friendships and colleagues that are still in the business and still out there leading police departments, namely the ones in our community. In addition to that, my wife is a former FBI consultant and worked for 5 presidencies, part of the DOJ, and has contacts on the federal side of things in areas where I wouldn't normally have contact, but I do now. And so I reach out to these organizations. Oh, I'm also part of an organization called Morale Boosters. You can find it by going to moraleboosters.us, which particularly deals with ICE and Border Patrol. So with all these people that I have, that are available to me to reach out and contact and ask questions, I was able to determine that nothing like this has happened. Nothing that's described here in this narrative happened, particularly in the city of Placentia. From the highest authority possible, they say this never happened. We don't have any record of this happening. No student from El Dorado High School or any other high school in the district that we know of, that we were able to find, was contacted, chased, tackled, had guns pointed at them, that the gang unit went and investigated. No student in the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District has been contacted in this way, nor has one been taken to jail, adult jail. That's not to say there's not adults that are high schools, 18 and 19-year-olds. I know that. My son was an adult in high school. So, but that narrows it down to a very small group of students. And none of those very small group of students that the police departments in the locality are aware of had anything like this happen to them. So that's one part. An ICE contact that I have, after they stopped laughing when I read this to them, they said, "Really?" And they were looking at me and talking to me and saying, "Do you really think that a team of 5 ICE agents, because that's what they normally travel in, 4 to 5, rarely 2, but because of everything that's going on, they now have multiple people inside one of their cars, or 2 or 3 cars that are driving in tandem, is that we would be driving around, we'd see a kid on a bicycle and start chasing him to ask for his papers." And he just said, "That is not happening." He said to me, "I can tell you right now, that is a lie. That is not something that is happening. We're so busy serving warrants, getting warrants, investigating, and doing a whole bunch of other things. We are not driving around looking for children, driving their bicycle around, and because they don't have a light, or because their handlebars are too short, or whatever it may be that they've identified as an infraction for riding a bicycle." It makes me laugh because he was laughing so hard, saying that is not happening. So between my ICE contacts, between my law enforcement contacts in the cities that are all within the Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District, remember I worked with Anaheim Police Department, said that this did not happen. We have no record of this happening. Now, they will say that there may be a former student at El Dorado High School who's now a burglar, who was burglarizing a car somewhere in these cities, which include Placentia, Brea, Anaheim, Fullerton. I'm sure I missed one there somewhere. Yorba Linda, who was burglarizing a car, and then in the act of trying to catch him, he ran and we caught him, because that happens every night. But nothing related to this incident. There's nothing that's described in this incident that has happened in the city of Placentia, where El Dorado is. So I just want to make sure that this is clear. So this walkout is based on a lie. This is this thing that they used in this particular post in Yorba Linda Moms and PYL Buzz that says walkout, and then has the very narrative in their thumbnail, I guess is the best way to put it, is in there as the basis for this walkout. I personally am so happy that these kids are speaking up about what is right. This is not about missing school. This is about so much more. Open your eyes, people. Enough is enough. But enough of what? Of something that is not happening, nor did it happen. This didn't happen. And so you need, as parents, hopefully you're watching this, or maybe you're going to be able to talk to some parents. You're going to meet them as you're picking up your kids today and say, you know, this thing that we're seeing and the reason the kids are walking out is based on a lie. This is not happening in our city. This is not happening in our school district. And so they need to know this. In addition to that, what all this does, what these teachers like Jenny Bremer and others that are pushing this lie, the APLE that are telling teachers to join the children in this walkout, that we're seeing in other places, like in Minnesota, we're seeing teachers being arrested for throwing bricks and rocks and blocking cars in Minnesota. Teachers. We're seeing school board members who are going into churches and interrupting churches because of this lie that's being told to them, which I'm sure they are passing down to their students. This is dangerous. It is creating mental health issues in our students because of these adults. Now, I reached out to the superintendent and asked her and wrote her a very nice letter, I got to say. Dr. Kim LeBlanc Esparza, sorry, I don't know her well enough to remember her name right now, but Dr. Kim Esparza, and told her that this was a lie, that this is happening, that her employees are the ones who are pushing this lie onto the students through social media, perhaps in the classroom, and through other means that they may have. And this is something that she needs to get involved in. And I think it would be important to her to put out a letter to just say nothing, not taking sides, just saying, I want to assure the parents of the school district that the things that are being described in this post, that are being described in comments on social media by students, these things that are being described have not happened in PYLUSD. And her speaking, and she would just want to help the parents understand that nothing like this is happening, that PYLUSD is safe for your kids. Simply, we want your kids to go to school to learn how to read, write, count, and think. How to think, not what to think. But she could just put out a letter that just says, I just want you to know these things didn't happen. I've contacted, as I did, she could have said, I contacted the chiefs of police in the different cities that are in our school district, and all of them had said the same thing. And she doesn't have to say as Andy said, but just said, they said the same thing. Nothing like this has happened. Every incident that a police officer involved in on the street, whether it's the gang unit or police officer, on patrol, they log what they did, whether it's a self-initiated activity, which would, if they were driving down the road and saw some type of crime or saw a suspicious person and went to stop them and they ran and they had to chase them, that would go on a log. The person's name would go on what's on an FI report, a field incident report, or a field interrogation report, and their name, their age, their date of birth, any information that came out during their stop would all be written on an FI card, and those FI cards are turned in. If it's a radio call where somebody said, hey, there's a suspicious kid riding his bike around vehicles, looking in the windows, or I don't recognize this kid in our neighborhood, and they called the police because he's suspicious, that too would be logged. There would be a radio log. Anytime an officer stops somebody, he puts it on the radio. Hey, I'm stopping a pedestrian at Imperial Highway in Kramer. And he would put that out, and he would give a description: a male Hispanic, a male white, a male black, a male Asian, 17 years old, 19-year-old teen. They would put out that description on a radio channel. Through their investigations and looking into this post, they see nothing like that has happened in our area, in our school district area, which is those cities that I named. So this is based on a lie. Now, Bonnie Conte tells the Yorba Linda Moms, I have a police report And somebody said, well, then share the police report. No, I'm not going to share the police report. Okay. Either she has a police report on something that says this guy, whoever, I mean, if there was a guy or woman, it would say that they were arrested for car burglary. They were arrested for an outstanding warrant. They were arrested for robbery. They were arrested for drug use, because that's the only reason why they would be in Orange County Jail. Remember, adults go to jail when they commit a crime. Most of the time, they go to jail when they commit a felony. Rarely, and not very often, do they make it to Orange County Jail on a misdemeanor. They often get cited out. They'll go to the local jail, or they'll be cited out at the scene, because our jails are typically fairly full, and they want to make sure that they only house those people that are unsafe to be out into the community. So it's very unlikely that the person that this supposedly happened to, and again, it didn't, was suspected of or in the act of committing a felony. More likely, that's what happened if this ever happened. And so the report that Bonnie Conte claims she has is going to be something that says this guy committed a crime, he was arrested and taken to Orange County Jail. Now, if you are somebody who lives in our communities, do you not want law enforcement out there driving around looking for criminals that are about to either take your package off of your porch, break into your vehicle, doing drugs on your property, maybe trespassing on your property, looking for an open door or an open window? Do you not want law enforcement out there making sure that that doesn't happen? And the answer would be yes. Everybody would say yes. I don't know anybody that would say no. But that's what that report would say. It would not say, because it didn't happen, that ICE chased a teen or a student or a kid for a bicycle violation, not having a light on their bike at night. ICE doesn't do that. And again, I can only hear the ICE agent laughing and saying, "What are you, crazy? Why do you bother me with this stuff?" And I said, because I want to make sure before I go live, before I try to tell people that this did not happen, that I did all my due diligence and contacted everybody that could tell me and even laugh at me when I said that this is what they're claiming happened. And he just said, absolutely not. So let me share you one thing. I promised that I was going to keep this short. I promised myself. But here's a post from a student, supposedly, that said, allowing heavily armed masked thugs, kidnappers, killers in 6 weeks with 6 weeks education walk into schools to snatch minors out of classroom and throw them in prison is not political theater and disruptive to education process, question mark. It's an odd sentence, I know, but I had to read it as what it said. We will walk out anytime we want. There is nothing you can do about it. And again, if you just read that again, again, there's people maybe that don't know this, but children aren't taken to prison. As a matter of fact, children under the age of 14, I believe it still is, maybe it's 13, 14, I can't remember now, cannot be arrested. Now, some kids under 18 can be taken to juvenile hall, but kids can't be arrested, and kids aren't arrested and taken to prison. Prison is where people go after they've been convicted of a felony. And so again, these words, the reason I bring these words and bring you the meaning of these words and why it's important is because if this is a student, say it's a 14-year-old girl, for instance, or 15-year-old girl, she's being told these things by adults that are poisoning her mind and causing distress and anxiety when it does not have to happen, because these things are not happening. ICE agents, law enforcement officers of any kind are going into jails. They are not going into schools. The reason I'm in the school today background is because they're not walking into a school like this and walking in and just snatching kids up and taking them to prison. Number one, ICE agents isn't going on the school property, period. Police officers aren't going onto school property, period, to snatch up kids and take them to prison. These things are not happening, but this poor young girl has been led to believe that this is happening. She may truly believe this is happening because we have teachers union operatives that are pushing out this thought process, these lies to these kids, and it's affecting them. And that's why I reached out to the superintendent and I said, this is important. If you care about the students in the school district, if you care about the families in the school district, it is incumbent upon you to send out a letter to tell people to stop, to email all the teachers and say, you need to stop doing this. And I'm telling you, we know what's happening. I have children in elementary school, middle school, and high school. And you don't think that they and all the friends that come around, sometimes we can have 15 kids at this house, are telling me, oh my gosh, you wouldn't believe what the teacher told me today. She told me that Abraham Lincoln is racist and that he had nothing to do with the abolishment of slavery. And I go, what? Or ICE, she was saying how horrible ICE is, or how horrible President Trump is, or how horrible whatever. This is not what teachers are supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be teaching them how to read, write, count, and how to think. But the superintendent wrote back to me and said, she's not doing it. She's not going to try to stop the lies. She's not going to stop her teachers from telling lies. And I think that's a shame. This needs to stop. The Yorba Linda moms needs to find something else to do. Maybe you should just share recipes and where to shop and where to eat and where to go out with your husband and where to go on vacation. And stop the harassment of school board members who are simply trying to protect the children and get back to a place where the school district is educating kids and not indoctrinating kids with these lies. We're going to look at a couple comments here. And Corrine says, our superintendent must say something about this lie. Absolutely. Crystal Noble says, of course it's a lie. That's all the left has, lies and deception. And Karen Farley says, oh gosh, that sounds like Jenny Bremer. That's what she told my kids. Absolutely. I'm telling you, I'm not telling you stuff that I have not heard from other parents and students. These things are happening in our school. Until parents rise up and until parents go to the school board meetings, until they begin to email and say, okay, we're tired of this. Stop your employees from doing this. They are going to be walking out with the students. Yorba Linda moms, people are going to be walking out with the students, adults, because they too believe the lie, or they created the lie. So they have to go out and say, oh my gosh, this student got chased by ICE. It didn't happen. And it's important for you to know that. Now, a couple of other things just really fast. You know, what comes out from the truth that we share, the facts that we share. And again, for me to wait this long, because I wanted to do this video a while ago, but I want to make sure and reach out to all the chiefs of police that I know and captains that I know and ICE agents that I know and make sure that I did everything I could to find out if maybe this happened in Brea as opposed to Placentia or Fullerton or Yorba Linda or what have you. I want to make sure and cover all the bases. So the most important thing is that I'm telling you, this didn't happen in Placentia and the neighboring city. This didn't happen. But what ends up happening is that these adults, these childlike adults will say that I'm attacking them. Now, maybe you can see it that way. But what I'm doing is attacking the lie with truth. And when you attack the lie with truth, the people that believe the lie, they perceive that I'm attacking them. And there could be some truth to that, because until they repent and change of their ways and begin to tell the truth and simply not just make up lies and write this. I don't know who wrote this, but it's one of the people that is in this group. One of the groups that I cited. It could be one of the teachers at one of our districts that wrote that because of how horribly it's written. It could have been Marilyn Anderson. It could have been Quintero. It could have been Buck. Who knows? But what they end up doing is they end up writing and saying horrible things about me and about Leandra. I got attacked because I had an injury on duty where I was going to a call where an armed suspect was getting ready. He was lying in wait for another officer. The helicopter saw him lying in wait. And I was on my way with lights and siren. I was going as fast as I could to this call, and somebody turned their car in front of me and I got into a car accident. So somebody was making fun of the fact that I got injured on my way to an emergency call with my lights and siren and was injured. And that's the type of people we're dealing with. We have people that are going to go out there probably and say that, Leandra Blades and I are going to Epstein's Island or something like that, or that we have something going on. That you can imagine that type of things going on. I imagine, as has happened, is that they'll go on Yelp and write bad business reviews on my businesses and my ministry. They'll call my church, as they have in the past, and tell their pastors that I need to be kicked out of my church. They will, what else? They'll follow me to church, as Quintero ordered one of her minions to follow me to church and serve me with a cease and desist letter that was written on a napkin, which Quintero did in fact do that. I've shared that letter out, and the man who followed me to church and served, not lawfully, but served this letter to me in front of my congregation at my church. They will do that. And they will say things about me as I go to pick up my kids at school, whatever. I don't care, because there's nothing more important to me than my kids and their friends and the other students that go to this district. I don't care. I don't care what you do to my business. I don't care what you do to me, because there is nothing more important than protecting our children from this craziness, this horrible craziness that's poisoning their minds. And I'm gonna stay on this topic, but there's a whole bunch of other topics that I go on and what they're doing to our children. But right now, this is the focus on this particular show. And as parents, you should think the same way, that there's nothing more important to your kids. And if you can find the time to just speak out and to say, hey, I saw this video, and I don't like Andy, but he did these things where he reached out to the chiefs of police. You can call some of them and ask if I reached out. Some of them may deny it. That happens too. But, they will tell you. They'll tell you what they told me, that this didn't happen, and you need to know it. Bonnie Conte, release this police report that you have. Let us see it and let us know what it is that's on there, because I can assure you, based on my decades of being in law enforcement, I know what it takes to get somebody lodged in Orange County Jail. This person, if there is a person that was put in jail, there's going to be a long series of things that had to be filled out to get him in that jail, and there has to be an affidavit that shows why he was lodged in this jail and all the circumstances and the elements of the crime that he committed to get lodged in the jail. And it wasn't for riding at night without a light on his bicycle. Nobody gets arrested and put in Orange County Jail for that. There's something, maybe that was the basis for the stop, but there's something else that was happening at the time. All right, my friends, I'm gonna leave it at that. I appreciate you watching. Make sure and share this information out. Oh, one more thing here. Trustee Blades' resolution, above all, aims to protect all students. It is very unfortunate the intent is being misconstrued, and with that, some adults using and abusing young students' impressionable minds. Absolutely. Yeah, I should say something about the resolution, and that is simply to support law enforcement, and that's something we should all do. We have SROs in every high school, school resource officers in every school, and students should not be afraid of them. They should be supportive of them. They should love them on their campus, because they're there to keep them safe while they're in school. And this stuff that's going on, this crap that's going on in Yorba Linda Moms, PYL Buzz, the teachers unions, the teachers that are doing it, the few teachers that are doing it, is causing children to fear those fine police officers that are in every one of our schools. And the resolution merely is saying that Placentia Yorba Linda Unified School District supports law enforcement. That's all it is, regardless of any other things that you feel. But law enforcement must be supported, and children should not be afraid of them. There was times when they were on the cover of magazines and told, hey, if there's anything wrong, you should be able to go to law enforcement and ask them for help whenever you feel uneasy about something. And we need to get back to that. Yeah, Brian Beck says they can't even name the officer. No, they can't. They'll make up one. And they wouldn't name somebody that actually exists, because then we could go to that officer and you'll say, what are they talking about? That never happened. He probably wouldn't even work on the shift that they're claiming that it happened on. And so thank you, Brian Beck, for that. All right, my friends. Love you guys. God bless. Take care. Bye.